Now, the Saudi-based data center developer DataVolt has announced that it's joining forces with the PIF-owned artificial intelligence company HUMAIN to develop multi-gigawatt data centers. Well, these centers will power the next generation of AI infrastructure across the kingdom. Well, together, DataVolt and HUMAIN are aiming to drive Saudi Arabia's ambition to become a global hub for AI and intelligent computing built on innovation, scale, and sustainability. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now by the CEO of DataVolt, Rajit Nanda, who joins us now from Riyadh. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Rajit. We also have Ali, who's still with us. We'll come to you in just a moment, Ali, but I just wanted to ask you first, Rajit. I mean, everyone's building, there's billions of dollars in CapEx being spent, but a lot of hype and concern about a bubble. What's your take? Are we in a bubble, or are we still underestimating demand?
So thank you for the question. It's a great question, which is doing the rounds these days. And what I would say is that there are good things about bubble, okay? And one of the good things about bubble is you end up seeing winners and losers. Now, my own view is that we definitely are at a very important point in the history of this AI transition, where we have a lot of companies who are just using AI prefix and AI suffixes and are claiming that they are AI companies, even if they have nothing to do with AI, all of them. So there is a moment in this AI transition journey where we need to separate the men from the boys. And I think there is going to be some amount of course correction. The good thing is, like all of these bubbles that we have seen in the past, there will emerge some clear winners and there will be some clear losers. And history, when we look back at it in 5 years from now and 10 years from now, we all will see that these winners are the ones who are leading in the whole AI front. Look at what happened back in 2000 and 2001 during the dot-com bubble. There were a number of companies out there, and 99% of them collapsed. But then today we are dealing with multi-trillion companies, the Microsofts of the world, the Googles of the world, and of course Meta came a couple of years after that. But we still have all these wonderful companies from that dot-com era out there. So just like it happened back in 2000, we will end up having some winners and losers. In terms of just the financial metrics, what I do want also the viewers to understand is that back during the dot-com bubble days, or a number of other bubbles that we have seen, but okay, the best comparison is the tech dot-com bubble. And during that time, we saw a lot of companies that did not have revenues, and that, or the ones that existed with small revenues, they were trading at market multiples which were triple digit, 125, 150, 160. If you today go and look at many of the tech companies, and we know that today 15 big tech companies are pretty much providing 40%, 50% of the market cap of S&P 500, for example. And if you look into their multiples, they are still trading at levels of 30, levels of 40, levels of 45. So there is still a lot of sanity in the way the growth expectations from these companies are expected to play out in the coming years. And therefore, I do think that we will see a lot of clear winners in this whole AI bubble discussion and all the clean out that hopefully will happen over the next 6, 12, 18 months.
Sure, and you make a really good point there about drawing parallels with the survivors of that dot-com era. I'd like to talk a bit about your newly announced partnership with HUMAIN. Tell us a bit about that and link that, if you will, to what you were just telling us earlier on.
HUMAIN, as you know, is the Saudi national champion, the company that is going to be in the AI stack. Okay. And HUMAIN is looking at the length and breadth of the AI stack. Where we come in is to partner with HUMAIN in order to look at one specific area, which is the build out of the data centers. Now, remember that data centers are like the roads on which the fancy cars drive. Okay. The whole AI stack is going to lead to a lot of fancy cars out there, the different apps that all of us are using and getting enamored of. These are the fancy cars, think of them. But for that driving experience, we should not forget that we need to have great roads, and we need to have roads all across. So what DataVolt does is build those roads, and we let HUMAIN focus on the rest of the AI stack out there. So this partnership is really an infrastructure partnership in the whole AI stack, where we look to partner with them to build out the energy infrastructure, the DC infrastructure, and wherever it makes sense, also the compute infrastructure for them.
Ali, let me turn to you now, because you follow investment flows very closely, and I'm wondering whether you're seeing any signals that would suggest a bubble or something else.
I don't think we're in a data center bubble at all, Tom. The reality is that we're building infrastructure for industries of the future. And in a lot of cases, industries we haven't even seen yet. That's the reality, right? And, infrastructure expansion always precedes economic expansion, always precedes industrial expansion. I mean, as Rajit was just saying, we're building a lot of very beautiful cars, but they need roads to drive on, right? And this is much the same. And, the reference, it's not the first time I've heard the reference or comparison to the dot-com bubble, but the dot-com bubble was much about software and applications. And even then, we saw the likes of, some of the examples that Rajit shared, but, Mark Andreessen, one of the most famous investors these days, who's undoubtedly funded so many industries and incredible ventures, came up with Netscape back then. I mean, he's just one example of so many incredible innovations that were born in that era, right? But when we are trying to make a reference to the dot-com boom, which a lot of people do, I think one of the things we have to be very conscious of is that applications are very different to infrastructure, right? And we're building infrastructure that is core to industries of the future now, much like rail was to many resources 100, 150 years ago. I mean, this is something we cannot look past. And actually, just a few short years ago, 2021, the Ministry of Investment in Saudi Arabia had estimates that our requirement for capacity by 2030 would be around 1 gigawatt. And now, even the lowest conservative estimates, estimating around 3 gigawatts of capacity, anywhere up to 8 gigawatts on the more aggressive estimates. And this is, not just a case of building as much as possible, build it and they will come. I think this is, this sort of capacity is a reflection of what we need right now when we consider all of the incredible socio-economic transformation that's taking place. And once the new industries are born around this spine, what will become, I think, the spine of the industry, we can only imagine what the capacity requirement will be. So my view is, no, I think we have a long road ahead of us and much more to build.
Okay, Rajit, let me turn back to you. Thanks for that, Ali. There is a fear, isn't there, that AI demand will outpace available power. And yet Saudi Arabia is saying we've got the power and we can export some of this power. Do you believe the world is underestimating demand for AI? And what role does the region's power surplus play in addressing it, do you think?
We believe that Saudi has everything in it to emerge as the third force in the world of AI. Today, the world has two centers of gravities as far as AI is concerned. One is the US, other is the China. The million-dollar question in front of all of us is there room for other such center of gravities to emerge? I think we will see the democratization of AI. And in the process of the democratization of AI, as we go forward, there is room for a few other center of gravities for the whole AI enablement. And Saudi, in our view, is very well positioned to be one of the leading champions in terms of being at the center of gravity of enabling AI. But for it to happen, there are a number of things that we need to think about. First of all, what is it that Saudi is able to give in terms or able to offer in terms of attracting itself to be an AI champion of the world?
Okay.
We all know that the buzzword in the context of AI is energy. And Saudi, over the last years, has very well demonstrated that it is the lowest, most reliable, and the green part of the energy generation. All of this is happening with rapid strides in the Kingdom of Saudi. This is a country which today produces 20 gigawatts of green energy per annum, which is probably the third largest green energy produced in anywhere in the world after China and India. The cost at which it is produced is 15% or 20% of the cost at which on an average it is produced in the US, and it is about 60% of the cost at which it is produced in places like China and India. You know, we all believe that China is the lowest cost producer of everything. I can tell you the Kingdom of Saudi is the lowest cost producer of green energy in the world today. So the availability, the reliability, the cost at which the green energy is being produced makes it a very important engine towards making the whole AI dream happen. The second important enabler in this context is connectivity. Thanks to the great vision of the Crown Prince, in the last 9 years, this country has built 17 subsea landing stations that are coming to the kingdom. And in the next 1.5 years, these 17 landing stations are going up to 24. The beauty of these landing stations, subsea cables, is that compute power can leave after it is being produced. It can leave the kingdom and go to its destinations. Whether you need to send it to the 1.4 billion people in Africa, or whether you want to send it to the 350 million people in Europe, or whether you want to send it to the 450 million people in US, or for that matter, the 1.4 billion people in India, all of this is possible because of the vision to put the connectivity, especially through the subsea cables between the kingdom and the rest of the world. The third important aspect, in my view, is basically the whole manufacturing supply chain. The kingdom, in the last 9 years in particular, has been building. Look at the gigacities. Look at all of the downstream petrochemical. Look at all the entertainment parks and everything else that is being built in the kingdom. $40 to $80 billion of capex, hard infrastructure, is being built in this country for the last 9 years consistently. As a result of that, what has happened is this country has been able to build a very resilient and a very dependable supply chain for building out all of this infrastructure. So all of these three, when they come together, what happens is basically you are able to demonstrate to the world that you have the capability of delivering the lowest cost of compute. And therefore, the kingdom today stands from a geo-economics perspective in a very vantage position to be able to deliver compute power at speed, compute power at a cost that is very, very competitive.
Okay, Rajit, let me turn back to Ali, and this will have to be the last question because we're nearly out of time. But one of the things that you are pretty vocal about, Ali, I think it's fair to say, is the idea that energy-rich nations could really shape the AI century. I mean, do you think the world is ready for that shift?
Personally, no, I don't think the world is ready for that shift, Tom, but I don't think we will be waiting for the world's readiness because, for the last 2 decades, two or three decades, we ran on the Silicon Valley model. Innovation was weightless, right? It wasn't attached to geography. Whoever had the best engineering won the game. But that's changing now. Geography matters, resources matter, energy matters, land availability matters, sustainability matters. So, in the new age, I think there's going to be a real shift in who's driving the tech conversation. As Rajit just mentioned, I mean, the supply chain is incredibly important for this whole equation, right? But the geography matters. And, relating that back to, Saudi Arabia, it's a blessed nation because it is very strategically located and very geographically rich. So I think, other nations like so will have a real chance at playing at the highest level. And to use Rajit's words there, for Saudi Arabia to potentially become the third force, US, China, and perhaps Saudi Arabia in the very near future.
All right, Ali, thank you very much indeed for that. You've had the last word. Ali Reza, we'll come back to you later on in the programme. But meanwhile, a very big thank you to Rajit Nanda, the CEO of DataVolt. Thank you both very much indeed for your time.